Hello and welcome back to the Mana Curve, where today we are going to do a review on this Teferi Planeswalker deck, which, again, they come with this foiled Planeswalker in the front, one booster pack, 60 card deck, and a deck box that, again, does fit 60 sleeved cards, which is always a good thing, especially if you're looking where to spend your money first. If this is your first deck, which would be card sleeves, then a somewhat decent box. But anywho, let's go ahead and crack this open and see what we have inside. Okay, so back to the actual deck. Okay, so on the deck, you got your Teferi, which for 4 generic 2 blue, you get Teferi Timeless Voyager, legendary Planeswalker Teferi. His plus one ability is draw a card. His -3 is put target creature on top of its owner's library, and a -8, each creature target opponent control phases out until end of your next turn. They cannot phase in. Treat them and anything attached to them as though they don't exist. So that's actually not a bad thing. Just get rid of everything on your opponent's creatures. And he starts out as a 4, which is kind of hard to see in the camera with just the way the writing is and stuff, but he starts out as a 4. So you'll have to at least +1 4 more rounds after you get him out and protect him. But you can do his -3 right when he gets out, which is good. Good creature removal, especially if you're doing it consistently. Okay, so just FYI, these are not necessarily in any order when you first get them out of the box. There's like a chunk of lands between that and a pile of cards. So just beware when you're kind of just going through it. But to start things off, you'll get a Stormwing Entity. Creature Elemental. This spell costs 2 generic and 1 blue less to cast if you've cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn. Which it's a 3 generic and 2 blue. It has flying and prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. When Stormwing Entity enters the battlefield, scry 2. So that's, look at the top 2 of your cards. You can either choose to keep them on top or put them on the bottom. And that's a 3/3. The next one is Teferi's Ageless Insight. 2 generic, 2 blue, legendary enchantment. If you would draw a card except the first one you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. So basically you don't draw 2 on your first draw step, but anything you have that causes you to draw more cards, you'll draw 2. And that's, again, 2 generic, 2 blue. Next, you will get 2 Teferi's Wavecaster. Creature, Merfolk Wizard. That's 3 generic, 2 blue. Flash, so you can cast it at any time. When Teferi's Wavecaster enters the battlefield, you may search your library and or graveyard for a card named Teferi Timeless Voyager, reveal it, and put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. And that's a 3/3. So that's just another way to get your Teferi out. It just puts it into your hand so it does not get on the battlefield. But one thing these decks are known for is to be able to constantly get your Planeswalker back on the field, or at least back in your hand. And again, you get 2 of those. Next, you'll get Jeskai Elder. That's 1 generic, 1 blue. Creature, Human Monk. Prowess. So again, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Whenever Jeskai Elder deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So there's that draw mechanic that they were talking about in there. And again, you get 2 for, and it's a 1/2. Next, you will get 2 Shipwreck Dowsers. That's 3 generic, 2 blue. Creature, Merfolk Wizard. Has prowess. When Shipwreck Dowser enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. So that's always good to just keep casting spells if you need to. And again, you get 2 of those. Next, you will get 3 Fairy Vandal. That's 1 generic, 1 blue, creature, fairy, rogue, flash, flying. When you draw your second card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Fairy Vandal. So anything you have that, again, does draw cards. If you have the enchantment out, you draw 2, but the second one, you get +1/+1 counters. All right, next, you'll get 3 Historian of Zalfir. That's 2 generic, 2 blue, creature, human, wizard. Whenever Historian of Zalfir attacks, if you control a Teferi Planeswalker, draw a card. And that's a 3/3. And you will get 3. Next, you will get 2 Tomb Anima. That's 3 generic, 1 blue, creature, spirit. Tomb Anima can't be blocked as long as you've drawn 2 or more cards this turn. And that's a 3/3. Next, you'll get 1 Stern Dismissal, which is 1 blue, for instant. Return target creature or enchantment an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Next up, you'll get 2 Charmed Sleep. That's 1 generic, 2 blue, enchantment aura. Enchant creature. When Charmed Sleep enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. So on this, I personally like anything that can mess with your opponent's creatures, just because overall it makes it easier to hit them. And I'm a big fan of them getting a hit over me, so these are always good. And again, you get 2 of these. Next, you'll get 3 Opt. That's 1 blue. It's an instant. Scry 1. And then draw a card. So look at the top card of your library. You may put that card on the top or bottom. If you like it, leave it on top and draw it. If you don't like it, put it at the bottom and see what you get next. Again, you get 3. Next, you'll get 2 Mantle of Tides for 1 blue, artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+2. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, attach Mantle of Tides to target creature you control. Equip 3. So apparently, looking at the artifact equipment, it's wanting you to just constantly equip. I'm not sure if it's just every time that you draw your second card each turn, or if you if you pay the 3 generic to equip it. I think it's going to be either or on this one. You may want to look at the rulebook for that. But on this one, there's nothing that says either attach it this way or that way. It just says whenever you draw your second card each turn, attach Mantle of Tides to target creature you control. So I think it's definitely going to be either or. So if you draw your second card, attach it, or pay the 3 generic and attach it. And again, you get 2. Next up, you'll get 4 Frantic Inventory, 1 generic, 1 blue for an instant. Draw a card, then draw cards equal to the number of cards named Frantic Inventory in your graveyard. So that's not bad. If you have 1 or 2 of them, you can draw a card and then draw cards equal to the number of the ones in your graveyard. So I would say that's not a bad card for running around the mechanic of drawing more and more and more cards. And again, you get 4 of those. Next, you'll get 2 Gust of Wind, 3 generic, 1 blue, sorcery. This spell costs 2 generic less to cast if you control a creature with flying. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand and draw a card. So again, that's that. Draw more cards, which, hey, it's not bad. And again, you get 2 of those. Next is Mystic Skyfish. That's 2 generic, 1 blue, creature fish. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, Mystic Skyfish gains flying until end of turn. And that's a 3/1, which for a very colorful picture. And again, you're getting 4 of those. And then you get your chunk of land, which of course you get the one, kind of upscaled land in the back. It's not foiled or anything, but you do get, kind of an upscaled one. Okay, so just a general look at it. You do got a fair even amount of creatures versus spells. Your creature amp is going to be more like a 4 or 5, and your enchantments is going to be more like a, I think, 2 or 3. Man, your enchantments are your spells are going to be more like a 2, 3 at the most, but more. I think there's more 1s than anything else in there. So all in all, it's going to be a fairly quick deck, other than your late game cards. And again, Teferi, he's a 6, and I don't find that you'll be able to draw that many cards. Maybe remove a creature might be the best thing you could do with him. But on your others, as far as others, it's going to be if you don't include Teferi, it's going to be solely based around drawing multiple cards and casting the spells that cause you to draw multiple cards. That way you get advantage of the prowess. But it's just like a little trick here, a little trick there, just to get around your enemy's creatures. So it's typical blue. Draw cards, avoid, in my opinion. And then of course you get your little pack here, which if you buy packs, just keep in mind that there's no card that comes in these. They're supposed to be random. And it's just supposed to be, hey, it might have something that will help your deck. And here we got our little soldier token, a mountain, a foiled indulging patrician, 1 generic, 1 white, 1 black, creature vampire noble, flying lifelink. Damage dealt to this creature also causes you to gain that much life, which is always good. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, each opponent loses 3 life. And that's a 1/4, so that's actually a pretty good card in my opinion. Primal Might, generic X, 1 green, sorcery, target creature you control gets +X until end of turn, then fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Vern Wingmare, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. 2 generic, 1 white, flying non-creature spells cost 1 generic more to cast. And that's a 2/1. That's something to mess your opponents up with. Palladium Myr, 3 generic, artifact creature, tap, add 2 generic, and that's a 2/2. Waker of Waves, 5 generic, 2 blue, creature whale. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-0. 1 generic, 1 blue, discard Waker of Waves. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard. And that's a 7/7. So that's actually not a bad card. It'd be late game, but it might actually be worth throwing that in the Teferi deck if you actually get it. Just for more creature power on the board. Anointed Chorister, 1 white, creature, human cleric, lifelink, 4 generic, 1 white. Anointed Chorister gets +3/+3 until end of turn, and it's a 1/1. So I'll make it a 4/4. That's kind of high for that, but I mean, for something you can use over and over again at any time you want, that's always a good ability to have in your pocket. Roaming Ghostlight, 3 generic, 2 blue, creature spirit, flying. When Roaming Ghostlight enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target non-spirit creature to its owner's hands. So that's always good creature removal, and that's a 3/2. Gnarled Sage, 3 generic, 2 green, creature, Treefolk Druid, reach, so it can block things with flying. As long as you've drawn 2 or more cards this turn, Gnarled Sage gets +0/+2 and has vigilance. Attacking doesn't cause it to tap, and that's a 4/4. Colossal Dreadmaw, that's 4 generic, 2 green, creature, dinosaur, trample, so any excess damage it has that a creature can't block, it goes to the controller of it, and that's a 6/6. Gloom Sower, that's 5 generic, 2 black, creature, horror. When Gloom Sower becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. And that's an 8/6. It's actually not a bad card. Next you got Garruk's Gorehorn, that's 4 generic, 1 green, for 7/3, creature, beast, and I don't see anything written down here, but it is kind of pretty. I feel that they should have put something in there though. Next is Igneous Cur, 1 generic, 1 red, creature, elemental, dog, for 1 generic, 1 red. Igneous Cur gets +2/+0 until end of turn, and that's a 1/2. Next is Lofty Denial, that's 1 generic, 1 blue, instant, counter target spell unless its controller pays 1 generic. If you control a creature with flying, counter target spell unless its controller pays 4 instead. So that would definitely go good in the Teferi deck. I think a couple of those might have gone good in there, so if you ever want to grab more. Next is Celestial Enforcer. That's 2 generic, 1 white, creature, human, cleric, for 1 generic, 1 white, and tap. Target creature, activate this ability only if you control a creature with flying. So basically, tap target creature with her. Alright, so that's a review of the Teferi Timeless Voyager. It's a good deck with some shenanigans in it. I would definitely replace just a few cards, maybe just to mess with more creatures and get some more creature removal onto the field. I think above all, if you're looking for just draw, it's definitely there. I will say I don't play a lot of blue, but in my opinion, what I'm more worried about is you draw, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do with what you draw? The creatures are, I think, okay in it. They could probably use some, maybe just a little bit of changing up on the creatures you're going to draw. But the spells are definitely in there. I would definitely, play it a few times, see how you like it, and make changes as you see fit. I will say with the low mana curve, there's 25 lands in there. So on that one, you're definitely going to want to maybe subtract a couple. I would definitely want to add any beyond that, especially for a 60 card deck that I do 1/3 lands, 1/3 spells, 1/3 creatures. That's me personally, and I think with this being more or less the very low mana curve, you can probably get away with that. But definitely try it, see how you like it. Leave a like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think. And other than that, I hope you have a great rest of y'all's evening. Stay safe out there.